Embarking on a journey back to 1990 might sound like opening a time capsule of neon clothing, classic TV jingles, and the heyday of VHS rentals. But there's one particular treasure from that year which, even more than 3 decades later, continues to dominate holiday watch lists, ignite spirited family debates, and prompt countless comedic attempts at booby traps in living rooms across the world. Yes, we're talking about Home Alone, the Chris Columbus-directed, John Hughes-produced masterpiece that introduced us to the mischievous Kevin McCallister and a whole lot of slapstick humor involving paint cans, scorching doorknobs, and very persistent burglars. Although it's now widely celebrated each December, and sometimes year-round by devoted fans, there's an entire universe of behind-the-scenes stories, production quirks, casting scrambles, and random coincidences that helped shape this film into the enduring holiday icon it is today. So get ready to rediscover that magical era where a 10-year-old kid, left on his own, fended off a couple of bumbling crooks, all while teaching us what family, the spirit of Christmas, and a sense of creative resilience truly mean. Below, in a structured list, are 30 little-known facts about Home Alone, 1990, served up with new angles, curious details, and that bit of modern flair designed to entertain a YouTube-era audience. Sit back, imagine that triumphant John Williams score playing in the background, and let's unwrap these nuggets of trivia one by one. Inspired by a personal fear. It all began with a simple, slightly humorous, but also relatable fear from the legendary writer-producer John Hughes. As he prepared for a family vacation, an activity that's stressful even in the best of circumstances, he started imagining the possibility of a young nephew left behind in the commotion. What if, after all the suitcases are stuffed, passports gathered, and plane tickets nervously checked, someone accidentally forgot the smallest member of the family? That scenario got his imagination whirling, morphing an everyday anxiety into one of cinema's most beloved holiday plots. Little did he know that casual "what if" would lead to a movie phenomenon, capturing our hearts and adding a new dimension to the term home security. From that seed of panic, the story blossomed into the escapades of Kevin McCallister, whose resourcefulness, bravery, and comedic style in protecting his turf set the film apart from your average holiday fare. Macaulay Culkin's star-making role, Home Alone, is practically synonymous with Macaulay Culkin, but it's easy to forget just how young he was when the cameras started rolling. He was a mere 10 years old when cast as Kevin McCallister, standing at the epicenter of the film's comedic storm. John Hughes had spotted him a year prior in Uncle Buck, charmed by how effortlessly Culkin delivered comedic lines and interacted with veteran comedians. Convinced that no one else could personify the spunky innocence of Kevin, Hughes pushed for Culkin despite the typical Hollywood search for alternative child stars. Ultimately, that decision turned a bright kid into a global phenomenon. His big, expressive eyes, the now iconic hands-on cheek scream, and his knack for switching from sweet to sassy at lightning speed established a new template for child stardom in the 90s. Robert De Niro declined. It's almost impossible to picture anyone other than Joe Pesci menacingly threatening to bite off every one of these little fingers when talking about Kevin. But in one of those wild Hollywood twists, Robert De Niro was originally offered the role of Harry, the shorter, more hot-tempered burglar. De Niro turned it down, as did comedic mainstay Jon Lovitz. Had De Niro accepted, we might have seen a drastically different interpretation of the bumbling criminal archetype. But ultimately it was Pesci, fresh from playing a very different kind of thug in Goodfellas, who gave Harry just the right blend of comedic exasperation and genuine menace. His chemistry with Daniel Stern became an essential ingredient in Home Alone, weaving physical comedy and memorable banter to create a duo that you simultaneously feared, mocked, and weirdly cheered against with holiday glee. Pesci's swearing struggles. Known for intense, R-rated performances filled with profanity, Joe Pesci found himself in uncharted territory on the Home Alone set. He had to adapt to a kinder, PG tone, especially while sharing scenes with a 10-year-old co-star. In lieu of endless F-bombs, Pesci famously substituted the word fridge and muttered a stream of semi-coherent curses, all while biting down on his finger to physically stop the expletives from escaping. This comedic approach to self-censorship quickly became an unintended hallmark of his performance and underscored the fact that Home Alone was equal parts family-friendly comedy and winking acknowledgement of Pesci's gangster roles. If you watch closely, you can spot moments where his face contorts in mid-sentence, as though he's yanking back the choice words. This comedic quirk highlights just how effective Pesci was at harnessing his tough guy energy while still keeping the movie safe for younger audiences. Real tarantula on Stern. Forget CGI or rubber props. When Daniel Stern let out that blood-curdling shriek as a tarantula crawled across his face, it was absolutely real. The production team brought in a live spider to achieve maximum authenticity for Marv's comedic meltdown. Stern agreed to do just one take, and understandably so. The combination of his genuine fear and the enormous creeping spider produced an unforgettable moment. He also had to scream in near silence during filming to avoid startling the tarantula and record an overdubbed scream later in post-production. His comedic mastery in that scene is a testament to the notion that sometimes real terror translates into comedic gold. Culkin's stunt double. Child labor laws are strictly enforced in film production, limiting the hours that a child actor can work each day. Because Macaulay Culkin was so central to nearly every scene, the crew faced constant scheduling puzzles. The solution? Culkin's uncle, who happened to be a pizza delivery man, stepped up as his stunt double for shots like running upstairs or appearing in quick over-the-shoulder action. While the notion of a grown relative masquerading as a 10-year-old boy might sound comedic, it was a practical necessity that kept the production on schedule and gave Culkin a break whenever the scenes didn't strictly require his presence. Filmed in a real house, the McCallister home, instantly recognizable with its stately red brick exterior, was not an elaborate Hollywood set. It was, and still is, a real residence situated at 671 Lincoln Avenue, Winnetka, Illinois. The family that owned the home at the time struck a deal with the production, allowing exterior shots and some interior filming to take place on location. Post-release, the home turned into a quasi-tourist attraction. Fans drove by, snapped photos, and sometimes even knocked on the door. Over the years, it became so iconic that its property value soared past $2 million. This real-life backdrop contributed a sense of authenticity to the film, blurring the line between the fictional McCallister's cozy home and a tangible suburban dream house. Gymnasium set for interiors. Though the McCallister house was real, much of the filming happened in an unexpected place. The production team, needing more space and to carefully control the shoot, particularly the chaotic flood scene in the basement, built interior sets inside the gymnasium of the abandoned New Trier Township High School. This included the basement where Harry and Marv get drenched, and even the attic that Kevin famously decorates. By using a large indoor facility, the filmmakers could manipulate lighting, weather effects, and rig up stunts without worrying about damaging an actual home. It was a savvy solution that allowed the best of both worlds, real exteriors and fully controlled interior environments. Pizza boxes were empty. Although Kevin's love for cheese pizza became a tasty running gag, the production team found a way to cut costs. Those pizza boxes in the opening scene were actually empty. The actors went through the motions of munching on slices for comedic effect, with camera angles and quick cuts masking the lack of real pizza. Observant fans who revisit those frames have spotted the giveaway. No gooey cheese or sauce is visible from certain shots. It's a small detail, but it shows how the movie's budget-conscious production found ways to prioritize resources for bigger aspects of the film, like special effects and stunts. Uncle Buck Connection, Home Alone, doesn't just share a creative team with Uncle Buck. It also drops a clever nod to that 1989 comedy gem with the pizza delivery scene. The character who shows up at the McCallister house bears a passing resemblance to the delivery boy in Uncle Buck, and the chaotic conversation swirling around him echoes the kind of comedic madness John Candy's titular character often brought. It's a sly Easter egg for fans tuned into John Hughes's cinematic universe, a web of references and cameos that reward viewers who pay attention across his filmography. Fake snow challenges. While we might fantasize about snow-capped suburban streets for Christmas, Chicago didn't cooperate during filming in February 1990. An unexpected warm spell left the area decidedly unwintery, forcing the crew to import not just a few handfuls of fake snow, but 18 truckloads of the stuff. Among the faux flakes, they used potato flakes and an assortment of synthetic materials. The result was a winter wonderland that looks perfectly convincing on film, despite the irony of having to artificially create the very weather condition that Chicago is known for. This not only demonstrates the lengths filmmakers go for authenticity, but also encapsulates the comedic mismatch of trying to conjure a Christmas aesthetic amid balmy temperatures. Pesci's real burn. Joe Pesci's comedic misfortunes on set weren't always just acting. In the scene where Harry grabs the scorching doorknob emblazoned with the McCallister M, Pesci wore a protective glove. However, the glove didn't fully shield him from a minor burn, which led to a genuine yelp. That moment captures the real-life hazards of physically comedic scenes. Although the production took every precaution to keep the stunts safe, a comedic scenario like a red-hot doorknob can quickly veer from silly to painful, adding to the movie's behind-the-scenes lore. Stern's improvised lines. While the script was penned by John Hughes, some of the film's funniest lines were off the cuff. Daniel Stern, who portrayed Marv with an air of hapless desperation, sneaked in an improvised gem when he confronted Kevin's uncle by blurting out, "Why the hell are you dressed like a chicken?" This unscripted comedic riff aligned perfectly with the chaotic, slightly surreal humor that Home Alone thrives on. It's a testament to the trust Columbus placed in his cast to expand on their characters in ways that felt natural and fresh. Catherine O'Hara's guilt. Catherine O'Hara, who played the frantic yet loving Kate McCallister, is revered for her ability to blend sincerity and humor. When she delivers that iconic, gut-wrenching Kevin scream at O'Hare Airport, her performance hits like a punch to the heart. She later confessed that she channeled real maternal guilt to infuse her lines with desperation. Even though the movie is comedic by nature, O'Hara's portrayal underscores the emotional core, a mother terrified at having forgotten her child. That authenticity is part of what balances the slapstick gags with a genuine sense of heart. John Candy's cameo. One of the film's most delightful surprises is John Candy's appearance as Gus Polinski, the self-proclaimed polka king of the Midwest. In a whirlwind 23-hour day on set, Candy improvised much of his dialogue, including a tale about leaving a relative behind in a funeral parlor. His cameo feels like a warm, comedic embrace, a comforting presence who spontaneously decides to help Kate get back to her son. The short but impactful role also weaves in classic John Candy charm, bridging Home Alone with his earlier collaborations with John Hughes, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Candy's low pay. Despite John Candy's fame from hits like Spaceballs, Uncle Buck, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, he only received $414 for his marathon cameo in Home Alone. This wasn't because the production was stingy, but rather a matter of union-scale pay for a friend doing a favor. Candy adored Hughes and was willing to work on a cameo basis. It's a bizarre Hollywood footnote that the comedic legend's cameo pay was so minuscule compared to his star power, but it also speaks to the goodwill and tight-knit rapport among Hughes's circle. Real polka band. In a move that lent further authenticity to Candy's Gus Polinski storyline, the polka band jamming in that cramped rental van was an actual Chicago group, the Kenosha Kickers, headed by Eddie Carosa Jr. Their music provides an upbeat, quirky soundtrack to Kate's journey home, showcasing a slice of Midwestern culture. While polka might not be at the top of everyone's playlist, it infuses the film with an extra layer of charming eccentricity, reminding viewers that the holiday spirit can manifest in the most unexpected, accordion-laden ways. Box office. Phenomenon. Home Alone was made on a relatively modest budget of $18 million, modest by blockbuster standards even in 1990. The film then exploded at the box office, raking in $476.7 million worldwide. In North America alone, it earned $285.8 million, setting a high bar for family comedies. For 21 years, it stood as the highest-grossing comedy until The Hangover Part 2 claimed that title in 2011. This monstrous success transformed Macaulay Culkin into a household name, solidified John Hughes's legendary status, and demonstrated that a film balancing sweetness, slapstick, and genuine emotion could have universal appeal. Longest-running record. Beyond simply amassing a huge gross, Home Alone also dominated the box office for 12 consecutive weeks, a record for a live-action film that went unbeaten until Spider-Man: No Way Home tied it decades later. This prolonged success emphasized the movie's capacity to resonate across demographics. Parents, kids, teenagers, and grandparents found something to love in Kevin's comedic resourcefulness. The unstoppable momentum also reflected how strongly it captured the holiday spirit, ensuring families returned for multiple viewings or introduced new relatives to the cinematic event of the season. Hughes's fast script. Sometimes brilliance arises in a flurry of creativity. John Hughes famously wrote the script for Home Alone in just 9 days. During a family trip, he kept ruminating on that initial fear of a young family member accidentally left behind, and before long he had an 85-page screenplay. He then delivered it to director Chris Columbus right before filming kicked off in February 1990. That rapid writing process showcased Hughes's aptitude for capturing childlike wonder and adult anxieties in a tight comedic framework. His knack for comedic setups, energetic dialogue, and memorable characters shone through in every scene. Warhol's Marilyn painting. There's a subtle art reference woven into Kevin's uncle's dialogue about Marilyn in a pizza box, which alludes to Andy Warhol's famous Marilyn diptych. While it's easy to miss if you're not attuned to pop art references, it adds a quirky note to the film's comedic environment, hinting that the McCallisters and their extended family might have a bit of cultured flair. Such tiny Easter eggs exemplify how John Hughes often sprinkled nuanced details throughout his scripts, rewarding sharp-eyed audience members with sly nods to larger pop culture. Pizza scene chaos. The opening scene at the McCallister house overflows with family members, suitcases, buzzing excitement, and, of course, pizza deliveries. The dialogue was partially scripted to layer voices atop each other, reflecting the kind of comedic pandemonium you might find in a real family household. Amid that chaos, Macaulay Culkin improvised the famous "Buzz your girlfriend, woof" line, gently mocking his on-screen brother's taste in girlfriends. This quick aside landed with comedic precision, prompting genuine laughs on set and eventually becoming one of those catchphrases that fans shout whenever referencing the film. No CGI traps. Home Alone may be full of cartoonishly exaggerated gags, but it was created well before the digital revolution truly took hold in Hollywood. Every trap Kevin sets, from swinging paint cans to that iron dropping through a laundry chute, was executed practically, with real rigs and stunt coordinators on hand to ensure everything was timed to comedic perfection. This reliance on practical effects amplifies the film's sense of tactile realism. Even in the midst of comedic mayhem, the audience feels the authenticity and cringes at the thought of each swinging object, making the stunts both funny and shockingly grounded. Stern's spider fear. It's not just the on-camera portrayal. Daniel Stern was genuinely uncomfortable around spiders. After fulfilling his terrifying close-up moment with the tarantula, he insisted that the creature be removed as soon as possible. The production crew respected his boundaries and quickly whisked the eight-legged star away once they'd gotten the shot. This detail adds another layer of sympathy for Stern's comedic plight. He wasn't just acting comedic terror, he was living it, if only briefly. Yet his professionalism shone through as he delivered a performance that made audiences squeal and laugh in equal measure. Culkin's Scar. The intense comedic dynamic between Pesci's Harry and Culkin's Kevin occasionally took a physical toll. During a rehearsal for the scene where Harry threatens Kevin with, "I'm gonna kill you," Joe Pesci accidentally bit Culkin's finger hard enough to leave a real scar. It's an anecdote that underscores how invested everyone was in creating a believable confrontation, even if it sometimes got a bit too real. Culkin has since laughed about it in interviews, displaying the same playful spirit that made Kevin McCallister such a memorable character in the first place. Airport scene. Logistics. The frantic rush at O'Hare International Airport wasn't merely staged with a few extras. The production recruited about 200 extras, merging them with actual travelers to capture an authentic sense of chaos. Filming took place over several nights, meaning the crew had to orchestrate a delicate dance around real flight schedules and unsuspecting bystanders. Catherine O'Hara's anxiety-laden dash through the terminal captures both comedic panic and genuine motherly concern. This mix of real travelers and professional actors generated an electric atmosphere, reinforcing the sense that the McCallisters' predicament was unfolding in the very real hustle of holiday travel. Chris Farley's audition. In an intriguing what-if scenario, the late Chris Farley once auditioned for a part in Home Alone. Some sources claim it was a small supporting role, while others speculate he might have been considered for a cameo on par with John Candy's. Farley, who'd later explode into fame on Saturday Night Live and star in comedies like Tommy Boy, didn't land the part. Still, the thought of him injecting his signature physical humor and big-hearted persona into the McCallister universe conjures fantasies of an alternate comedic dimension. Soundtrack. Success. John Williams's lush score for Home Alone is as integral to its success as Kevin's zany traps. Combining an orchestral sense of wonder with holiday tunes, Williams created a soundtrack that soared to number 148 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 500,000 copies, a considerable achievement for a film soundtrack, particularly in the early 90s. Alongside the iconic original compositions, the track list included cheerful seasonal classics, weaving together a musical tapestry that evokes both childhood nostalgia and the unmistakable promise of holiday mischief. Whenever you hear those glittering chimes, it's impossible not to picture Kevin rummaging through his brother's room or booby-trapping the front door. Columbus's casting fight. Director Chris Columbus knew from the outset that Macaulay Culkin was perfect to anchor Home Alone. But studios and other creative forces often demand auditions and screen tests, especially when a single child actor is set to carry an entire film. Columbus met with about 200 other young actors, but none of them exuded the same blend of charm, spunk, and comedic timing as Culkin. Columbus championed his first choice relentlessly. This casting call tug-of-war proved worth it once cameras rolled. Culkin's performance defined the character of Kevin so definitively that it's hard to imagine any other child star of that era pulling off the role with the same mix of innocence and sass. Holiday classic status. Since 1990, Home Alone has aired every holiday season on various networks like ABC and Freeform, consistently drawing viewers eager to share the movie with their own children or reconnect with childhood nostalgia. On social media platforms, formerly known as Twitter, now widely referred to as X, fans regularly hail it as the ultimate Christmas movie. Its timeless appeal lies in the perfect cocktail of holiday sentiment, comedic ingenuity, and emotional resonance. Kevin not only wards off intruders, he experiences valuable insights about family, independence, and belonging. This universal theme has anchored the film's place in the pantheon of Christmas classics, proving that no matter how many times we watch it, the simple premise of a kid outsmarting a couple of bumbling burglars remains irresistibly fun. Whether you first saw it on VHS, DVD, or streaming, Home Alone stands as a cinematic time machine back to an era of simpler movie magic, where practical stunts and clever writing coalesced into an unassuming blockbuster that topped charts and hearts alike. Perhaps it's the contrast between the cozy suburban Christmas setting and the cartoonish violence that so enthralls us. Or maybe it's the subtle life lessons baked into the comedic script. Whatever the reason, the film continues to foster a sense of childlike wonder, bridging generations each holiday season and reminding us that, at its core, a great family comedy can resonate well beyond the decade in which it was created. Learning about these 30 little-known facts helps solidify why Home Alone isn't just another holiday flick. It's a cultural staple that shaped modern family entertainment, broke box office records, and brought us iconic movie moments we still quote today. From genuine injuries to improvised hilarity, from absent snow to hot doorknobs, the production brims with tales that deepen our appreciation for what we see on screen. So, the next time you cue up Kevin's adventure, take a moment to savor how much love, risk, imagination, and comedic finesse went into creating an enduring classic, one that might just keep us entertained and echoing, "Merry Christmas, you filthy animal," for decades to come.